That, according to the household of the father, it says. On that day, he went into the house of his father. So what happens when the lamb goes into the house of his father? You're the house of his father. He overturns some tables. He redecorates. Another thing that was happening at that time for Passover was that all around Israel, leaven, which represents sin, is being cleansed from homes. Because by the time Passover comes, there should be no leaven in your house. So everybody is cleaning leaven. He goes into the house, his house, he cleans leaven. That's what he's doing. So it is when he comes into the house. But when the lamb comes into the house, he cleans the leaven and he redecorates. And again, that is left out of evangelism. Because you got some couches that you really, really like. That Yeshua says, I'm going to put it here. I'm going to move it out of the way. Because there's a lot of leaven that's been accumulating behind it. So I need to reveal that. I'm going to clean it. And in some cases, he'll just put the couch over here. And some days he'll say, this couch is an heirloom from your family, and it's got to go. Left out of evangelism. Smart to do that. But it's good, because that's what the homeowner does. Because he bought the right to do it when he bought the ugly house. Do you understand? Why does he redecorate? The king came into his house on that day, but he's not just a king. He is a priest. And the priest oversees the tabernacle, the Mishkahn system. And the Mishkahn must be decorated to the liking of the priest. The table must be in the right place. The lamp must be in the right place. You know, it is not a coincidence that the elements of the Mishkahn, the tabernacle, are things that you find in a home. A table, a lamp, curtains. Where the sacrifices are, it's like a stove. It's not a coincidence that it resembles a home. But it must be set up perfectly for the high priest to function. It must be set up perfectly for the high priest to function. That's why when in the first setup, Moses had to go and say, yep, he looked at everything. If you read the story, when it was first set up for the first time, Moses had to inspect everything to make sure it was done according to the pattern shown him on the mountain from God. That's what happens when Yeshua buys the ugly house and comes into you. He makes sure that every furnishing is exactly where he needs it. The high priest needs it. According to the pattern shown from heaven. That's the treasure in the field. That's you at your fullness that he's bringing you to. And how encouraging is that? There is a vision of you from the mountain. So if there are things in your life that are getting shifted and moved and discarded, and new things are coming in, and things, furnishings, whatever it is that's been in your life for generations are all of a sudden getting torn up. You know, every week we read a Torah portion, because in Judaism there's a portion per week. Does everybody know there's also a reading from the prophets every week? It's called the Torah portion. It's a reading from the prophets. It relates to the Torah portion of the week. You know what the Torah portion of that week is when Yeshua came in? You are robbing me, Malachi 3. It also says in that chapter, behold, the messenger of the covenant is coming in. The king, behold, the king is coming to the temple. The messenger whom you seek is coming to the temple. And it also speaks about how we robbed God with tithing. And that day, when that was being read, he said, you're calling my house a den of robbers. So if things are getting torn up in your life, He bought the right to do it when He bought you. At such a high price. We blame the enemy for all these things. You know, God gives gifts. All good gifts come from above. All good gifts come from above. But God gives gifts not based on what we want in a moment. He gives according to our need, based on He sees it, not based on our wants at the moment. This is why prayers so often don't get answered. Because we say, Lord, I want this. And He's like, I want to have a more modern house like a New York Jew. Because He sees beyond your current want. He gives according to what you need according to Him. And it's beautiful. You know, people think like, knock and keep knocking, you're going to get what you ask for. You ask for bread, is He going to give you a snake?
No.
You know, that's what it says in Scripture. You know, if the son asks for bread, is the father going to give a snake? You know, the reality is, when you keep knocking, over time you realize, I didn't need that bread after all. Because I am fed not from bread, but from the word of the Lord that comes from the mouth of God. And that's how He fulfills that. It's not based on what we need at the moment. Thank God He does not answer prayer based on what we need at the moment. Thank God He doesn't answer our prayers and give us based on what we want at the moment. Why doesn't He give us what we want? Because He's bringing us to a place where we say, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. Where are those green pastures? He says, yea, though I walk through where? So where are those green pastures? In the valley of the shadow of death. It didn't say, I walked through the valley of the shadow of death, and now I'm in the green pasture. The green pasture is in the valley of the shadow of death. That's where we say, He is my shepherd, I shall not want. I shall not want. This is why when people said to Yeshua, how do we pray? He didn't say, pray for your husband. Pray for your health. Pray for the nation. Pray that Donald Trump gets in or doesn't get in. Give detail. How do we pray? Pray for Israel. These are all good things. Pray for these things. But when Yeshua was asked, how do we pray? He said, God's will be done. Done.
That's it.
That's two dones. God's will be done. Done.
That covers
God's will be done. Done.
Yep.
Otherwise, we're praying for things that we want that may not be what He wants because He sees greater than what we see. Because He sees future, we see finite. We see the ugly house, He sees the mansion. Thank you, Adonai.
Hallelujah!
Thank you, Adonai. Thank you, Lord. In this time, we are counting up to Shavuot, Pentecost. It started with one little bit of unleavened bread. At Passover, it ends 50 days later with 2 loaves of bread. And the 2 shall be one. The fullness of who you are. You're catching up to it. Let Him redecorate. Let Him move the furnishings. Let Him throw out what He needs to throw out. Let Him replace what He needs to replace. He is crafting you according to the pattern shown on the mountain. And it's beautiful. He buys ugly houses. But He makes them beautiful. Today is the 14th day of the counting of the Omer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech
Shalom.
Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sefirat ha'omer. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who makes us holy through your commandments and commands us to count them all. In Yeshua's name, amen.
Hallelujah!
We're the renovation of our bathroom. Look at all that dust. That's what Yeshua does. He leaves no stone unturned. So if he's showing you this, if he's showing you leaven in your life, if he moved a piece of furnishing and said, or ripped up the cushions, like, oh, look at all that. Let him clean. Let him redecorate. It's glorious. It's glorious. Let him do it. Let him do it. We stand with you in prayer. Stand by.
Oh, I'm sorry. It went this way. I'm sorry.
We're going to get there. I know this guy. I know this. You know, this will be fine. Because it's all from here. How's that? All right. You can play Sorry Now. Thank you, Father. Thank you. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmarecha. Ya'er Adonai panavalecha v'ikunecha. Yisa Adonai panavalecha v'yasem lecha shalom. The Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. The Lord cause his face to shine upon you and be merciful to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you his perfect peace. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom!